Everyone in your life has told you that you're too picky. Your mom, your married friends, your coworkers, and maybe, just maybe, you've even started to believe it. But I'm here to tell you that picky is not your problem. Unclear is your problem. And those are two very different things. And confusing them could be costing you. There is nothing more frustrating than a woman in her 30s who knows what she wants, has done the work, has the faith, has the life, and is still single when she doesn't want to be. And the world has a very convenient explanation for that. You're too picky. Your standards are too high. You need to be more flexible. You need to give more people a chance. And so you do. You go on dates you didn't feel excited about. You talk yourself into people who may have checked most of the boxes, and you try to logic your way into feelings that were never there. And guess what? Still doesn't work because that was never really the problem. Here's what nobody's telling you. There is a significant difference between being picky and being unclear. Picky is knowing exactly what you want and refusing to budge on the things that don't actually matter. Unclear is having a long list of preferences without any real understanding of what you actually need, what your non-negotiables truly are versus what is just noise. One of them is a character flaw. The other is just a clarity problem. And clarity problems are fixable. Proverbs 4:7 says, though it costs all I have or all you have, get understanding. Not just wisdom, understanding. There is something powerful about a woman who knows exactly what she wants, what she values, but also understands why she values it. That is what we are building today. So, before anyone tells you to lower your standards again, let's figure out if those standards are even really the issue. Because there's a difference between a standard and a preference. A standard is a value-based boundary that reflects who you are, what you believe, and the kind of life you are building. Things like, he must be a man of genuine faith. He must be emotionally secure. He must have integrity. Those are standards. They're non-negotiable because they're foundational. Now, a preference, on the other hand, is something that you'd like to have, something you'd love, but doesn't necessarily determine whether a relationship will actually thrive and survive. Things like tall, blonde hair, blue eyes. He has the same taste in music as I do. He should have a certain kind of job. Those are all preferences. And when preferences start masquerading as standards, that is when the list becomes a problem. Not because you want too much, but because you haven't quite sorted out what actually matters from what just sounds good, right? You see, unclear women can't tell the difference. And as a result, they either hold on too tightly to things that don't actually matter, or they compromise on things that do matter because they never took the time to figure out which was which. Now, here's why unclear standards keep you stuck. When your list is long and unexamined, one of two things happens. Either nobody ever measures up because they're being evaluated against a list that no human being can fully satisfy, or you keep attracting the wrong type of people because the things you say you want and the things you actually want don't actually line up. Both outcomes leave you in the same place, alone and confused about why. Habakkuk 2:2 says to write the vision and make it plain. There is something deeply intentional about that instruction because our God is not a God of vague. He invites us to get specific, get clear, to know what we are actually asking for and why. If you cannot clearly articulate the difference between what you need and what you simply want, you're not operating in vision. No, you're operating in wishful thinking, right? So here are some signs that you may be unclear, not too picky, okay? Number one, you have a long list, but you can't quite rank it. Like if somebody asked you to take your list of must-haves and put them in order of importance, Could you do it? If everything on the list feels equally critical, that is a sign that it hasn't been truly examined. Like, real clarity means knowing that his faith and his character sit at the top of the list, and that his height and eye color and taste in music sit somewhere near the bottom, or even not on the list at all, right? Number two is your deal breakers change depending on how attracted you are. Like, I've been guilty of this, okay? This is one of the most honest signs of unclear standards. When you really like someone, suddenly the things that would have been deal breakers become negotiable. Oh, yeah. Or when you're not attracted to someone, some of the things that wouldn't normally matter become reasons to walk away. That's inconsistency, not pickiness. And I've been guilty of it for sure. It's a lack of clarity about what you are actually unwilling to compromise on. Real standards don't bend based on chemistry. The third one is you don't know the difference between a slow burn and a wrong fit. Unclear women often dismiss good men because the feelings weren't immediate, and they stay with the wrong men because the feelings were intense. But feelings are fleeting. They're not something you can depend on. Song of Solomon 8:4 says, not to awaken love before it's time. You see, some of the most solid, healthy, God-honoring relationships started without fireworks. And if you've ruled out every man who didn't give you butterflies on the first date, then you may not just be too picky, you may be chasing a feeling instead of evaluating the person across from you. Number four is you know what you don't want better than you know what you do want. After enough bad experiences, it is easy to build your entire standard around avoiding what hurt you before. No more emotionally unavailable men, no more inconsistency, no more situationships. And while those things are valid, a list built entirely on avoidance is still reactive and not intentional. It tells you what you are running from, it doesn't tell you what you're running toward. See, real clarity is proactive. It knows not just what it won't accept, but it knows what it's genuinely looking for and why. Number five is you hold men to standards you haven't held yourself to. Oh, I know this one is uncomfortable, but it needs to be said, okay? If you require a man who is spiritually mature, emotionally healthy, financially responsible, physically fit, and actively growing, are you those things too? You see, unclear women sometimes have aspirational standards, meaning they want a man who's at a level they themselves haven't reached yet. Luke 6:38 reminds us that the measure we use will be measured back to us. So the standard you hold for a partner is also an invitation to hold that same standard for yourself. Number six is you keep giving chances to the wrong people and dismissing the right ones. So if you look back at your dating history and you kind of pick up on this pattern of being consistently drawn toward men who aren't good for you and consistently uninterested in men who actually might be good for you, that's a clarity issue and not a pickiness issue. Because a truly picky woman would not keep choosing poorly. What is actually happening is that your stated standards and your lived out choices are not matching up. And that gap is worth taking a look at and maybe examining deeply and honestly. Getting clear is not about shrinking your standards. Please don't do that. It's about refining them. It means sitting down, maybe with a journal, definitely with God, maybe with a trusted friend or mentor, and asking yourself some honest questions like, what are 3 to 5 things that are truly non-negotiable for me and why? What have I been treating as a non-negotiable that may actually just be a preference? What patterns keep showing up in my dating life, and what do they tell me about what I'm actually choosing? Another question is, where am I expecting something from a man that I have not developed myself? Those are a few questions to ask. Psalm 37:4 says, delight yourself in the Lord, and he will give you the desires of your heart. Notice it says desires, not a checklist. There's something about being so anchored in God that what rises to the surface is no longer a checklist, but a genuine, spirit-led sense of what you need. that kind of clarity does not come from updating a spreadsheet. It comes from intimacy with God and honesty with yourself. So, the next time someone tells you that, no, you're too picky, I want you to just take a brief pause before you take that on yourself. Because the question is not whether your standards are too high. The question is whether your standards are clear, right? Are they rooted in your values or just your preferences? Are they consistent or do they shift based on attraction? Are they asking something of you too or only of him? You are not required to settle, and please don't. Okay? You are not required to talk yourself into someone you are not genuinely drawn to. Please don't. I beg you. But you are required to be honest with yourself, with God, and with the dating process. Because a woman with real clarity is not picky. She is purposeful. And there is a significant difference. Okay? If this video helped you, would you take a quick second and hit that like button? It's completely free to do, and it helps this video reach more Christian women like yourself. And I want you to remember today that you are worthy, you are loved, and you are chosen. Have a blessed week.